Hi viewers, Purple Celery here. Welcome back to my channel. So here we are at the start of a brand new series of Doctor Who. It is really exciting. There's a new actor, a new TARDIS team, a new showrunner, a new composer even. So today I am going to be reviewing episode 1 of series 11, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Just as a spoiler alert, I will be discussing the death of one of the characters in this episode. So if you haven't yet seen this episode, I suggest that you do so first before watching this review. So I'm just going to jump straight into the question that everyone's probably been asking, which is basically, how did Jodie Whittaker do as the Doctor? And was it strange to see a female playing the Doctor? For me, it didn't feel strange at all. I thought that Jodie was very convincing as the 13th Doctor. To me, it didn't feel like I was watching a different show or a different character. I thought that many of the characteristics of the Doctor really shone through. For example, the taking charge of the investigation, showing compassion for other people, but at the same time enjoying herself. I thought that they're all traits of the Doctor, and they really shone through in Jodie's portrayal. I also could see elements of previous Doctors creeping in as well. I was getting strong 9th Doctor vibes, possibly because Whittaker and Christopher Eccleston have very similar northern accents. I think too, Jodie's Doctor also has that sort of brisk, cheerful manner about her that Eccleston's Doctor also did too. So moving on to the new companions, I really liked how they started the show from Ryan's point of view. I liked how he was sort of almost the anchor character for this episode. It made a refreshing change given that lots of previous series have started from the perspective of the female companion. So it was kind of good to see a male's perspective. I did like the character of Ryan. He came across as very likeable and down to earth. I also thought that Yasmin was a good character too. I can see similarities with Yasmin and the Doctor in the sense that they're both kind of authority figures, used to being the ones asking the questions, used to be the ones taking charge. I think that this could actually set up quite an interesting dynamic between the 13th Doctor and Yasmin going forward. I'm just wondering whether there'll be a bit of a buddy dynamic going forward, but also maybe with a little bit of competitiveness underneath that. The character who I thought was actually the weakest in this episode was actually Bradley Walsh's character, Graham. To me, it felt like he didn't really have a great deal to do in this episode. He came across well towards the end as the grieving widower, yeah, I felt that his wife was actually the stronger character in this instance, and he didn't really seem to have a great deal to do, but maybe that will change as the series progresses. As for the story, I thought it was okay, but not fantastic. The plot was a bit thin and basic. It also had some surprisingly dark elements to it. The body count was surprisingly high, and I wasn't actually prepared for them to kill off Grace, Ryan's nan, at the end, given that she was such a strong and sympathetic character. So I thought there was definitely a darker element to this episode. Having said that though, I also liked the framing device of Ryan's YouTube video at the beginning and the end of the episode. I liked how when he started off talking about a woman who he really admired, my first thought was that it was going to be Yasmin, or possibly even the Doctor herself. So it was interesting at the end to find out that it was in fact his nan that he was talking about. And I liked too, on that note, how the title of this episode, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, was also a reference to Grace as well as the Doctor. I thought that was a very clever title. For me, there were a couple of things that did detract from this episode, however. For most of this episode, Jodie's Doctor wears the same costume that the 12th Doctor wore, and I mean that's all well and good, and I get that it sort of ties in with the story and the regeneration. But in practice, given that the Doctor has now changed from being a man to a woman, her body now is going to be a lot smaller than previously, and I couldn't help but think, why aren't her pants falling down, and surely her shoes must be sliding around her feet. So yeah, it was like a little bit implausible in that respect, but that was a pretty minor thing. I also thought, on a more minor note, that Graham and Grace looked a little bit too young to be Ryan's grandparents. I thought they looked more like his parents' generation, but again, that was a fairly minor thing. And just on a side note here, I'm sure that you can probably tell from my accent that I am Australian. And given the time differences between the UK and Australia, we basically get this episode on Mondays. The ABC is showing these episodes at 5 to 6 o'clock on a Monday evening. I do question how great this time slot is, especially given how dark this episode was. It's going to make it really hard for people such as myself who are normally coming home from work at that time of night to be able to watch the episodes in a timely manner. I did watch today's episode on ABC's streaming service iView. It wasn't great, so ABC, please lift your game. It was basically low resolution. It kept on pausing and freezing. It wasn't a great experience. So if anyone from the ABC is watching this, yeah, please do something about this. That'd be great. Thank you. Oh, and as a PS, my household does have fast internet, so it's not our internet that's the problem. Overall, I thought The Woman Who Fell to Earth was a solid opening episode to the series, and it firmly established Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. So, in summary, I would probably give this episode a 7 out of 10. And on that note, I'm looking forward to next week's episode. I'm curious to see how the TARDIS team will end up floating in space the way they did at the end of the episode. I also got a few vibes relating to the show Sliders at the end of this episode, given that there was an experiment that has gone amiss and a whole team of people have sort of been sucked into it, and maybe now they're trying to find their way home. So yeah, I'm wondering whether this series might have those sort of Sliders elements. That's enough from me. What did you guys think about the episode? Did you find Jodie convincing as the 13th Doctor? Did you enjoy the episode? Did you like the new companions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I'll see you guys next week when I review episode 2. I'm not actually sure what the title is, but at any rate, I will see you there. And this is Purple Celery, over and out. See you next week.